The 3 world wars were planned in the 1800s. That's according to a letter from 33-degree Freemason Albert Pike, who wrote a letter to Giuseppe Mazzini, who was the director of the Illuminati. And this is what this letter, written in 1871, said.
Across the globe by millions, and now...
The following is a letter that speculation claimed that Albert Pike wrote to Giuseppe Mazzini in 1871. Now these are extracts from the letter showing how 3 world wars have been planned since the 1800s. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the powers of the Tsars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. And again. The First World War must be brought about in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and the Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. This war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel in Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be concluded in such a way that Islam and political Zionism, e.g. the State of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Now, if you Google the letter, you can find it in archives. Very easy to find. Just type in Albert Pike letter to Mazzini, and up the letter will come. Then you will find some of the summaries of the letter saying, well, in the 1800s, the word Nazism or Nazi wasn't around, nor was the State of Israel, the summary will say. However, it's important that you learn that these terms are created decades in advance. So the term Nazism didn't come around in the 1930s or 1920s. It would have come around, the 1920s and 30s. It would have been invented decades earlier. So it's highly likely that the term Nazism was invented in the 1800s. Also, when people say the State of Israel was not created until 1947-ish, 48, again, that's incorrect. The State of Israel, not the Kingdom of Israel in the Bible, which was obviously created thousands of years ago, the State of Israel, the current State of Israel, was agreed in 1917, of which was part of the Balfour Declaration. And the Rothschilds, Jacob Rothschild's father, managed to get the State of Israel agreed in 1917 with the British government. So that would have been in the planning for decades and decades prior of lobbying. This man would have made it his life's mission to get the State of Israel, especially with all his wealth. So it is highly likely that you don't just create a State of Israel quickly. If it was agreed in 1917, to create an entire new country is decades in the planning. So that again, that's highly likely that this letter, is real. In terms of, you can't say, well, the State of Israel wasn't around in 1871, because I've just explained that it would have been agreed decades prior. And a lot of this stuff follows Kabbalah, numerology, and so these events that we see are planned decades and decades in advance, if not 100 years, some of them. I've seen things happen when someone's born and something happens to them, 35 years later, but it was planned 35 years earlier on when they were born. So another point to make is this letter, I saw it uploaded on the internet in 2014. Now that was just one copy that I found. There could be other copies on the internet way before that if I searched around, but let's just say it was around in 2014. So how did the person know that what is going on now was going to happen? We all know that wars are planned way in advance, and that, who profits from the wars? Who profits from them? It's not the civilians living in the nations, is it? Never, never, never. It's not them. It's not the civilians, whether they be working class, middle class, upper class. It's not them. So we know that the wars are planned way in advance. We know the world is in crisis now. Anyway, I always say you should do your own research, but be careful, because when you're doing your research, you're still being mind controlled with some of the answers that you're getting online. So you can't just do your research on, Google or ChatGPT. You would need to do it on Yandex.com, YouTube, Instagram, private websites. Well, not private, but ones that aren't popular and controlled and bought out. And to learn about the deep state in who is running the world and who is managing our leaders of each nation, what you can do during these times, and that Greater Israel, Israel wants to become Greater Israel and expand into Syria, Iran, Saudi, Egypt, and Lebanon. I think I've covered all the nations there, and obviously Palestine. So what we can do during these times is we can still have peace within us by asking for divine protection from God. And there are some prayers in the Psalms that you can pray. So you can just Google divine protection prayers, psalms, and then the prayers that you can say will come up. But you now need to bring yourself to as godlike as godlike beings as you can be. Because if war is coming, if it is, I urge you actually to turn the news off right now and don't feed into that beast. If war is coming, I urge you to start getting your house in order, start getting your soul in order, because we're not here for no reason. We are being tested, and there will be a time of judgment. Do we get to the next level? Do we get to the next realm? Do we get to where have we gone wrong? Are we playing over some bad karma in this life from the last life? Where are we going next? So now's the time to get your house in order. Well, as usual, let me know what you think in the comments, guys. I love reading your comments. And here's a video that's coming up now in relation to what we're talking about in general, about the collapse of societies as we know it.